Before we dive right into our first project in the next video, I want to take this video to show you around the Notion workspace a bit more, because there are some things and settings that we haven't talked about yet, which are pretty essential, and you will probably find yourself searching for them, especially in the first days of using Notion. First of all, we have all of the page level options. So these are options that you have for every page, and you can adjust them for every page as well. First of all, up here, we actually see this updates menu. And this basically shows us all of the updates that were made to any given page. So you can see here is what I added to the page. And if I updated the page here, this would also be shown in this sidebar. And this makes it possible for you to go back and see how the page changed over time. And you can also actually restore some of the content that you, for example, deleted accidentally. So this is a great place to go to if you ever want to revert any of the changes that you made inside of one of your pages. You can also add Notion pages to your favorites, and you do that by clicking on this little star icon in the top. And now you see this new section appeared in our sidebar with our favorites. So this is great if you have lots and lots of pages inside of your Notion dashboard and you want to highlight just the couple of ones that you use the most often. Again, in our case now, it's not that relevant because we don't have that much content yet. But you will definitely run into this later in your Notion journey once you have more and more of your organization inside of Notion. There are also additional ways how you can customize your pages in Notion, and you can access them through this little menu at the top. So this is, for example, where you can change the font style. So by default, it's this sans serif font, but I could also change the serif version. And now you see the text actually changes in our entire workspace. I could also choose a mono font if I wanted to. I usually just keep it as the default, but you can do whatever you want. Now I can also make the text smaller, or I can make it bigger, depending on how I like it. And you can also make the page full width, because by default, as you see, the page is like a bit slimmer, because usually that's what you want. But if you want to have more wide content, basically, you can do that through this toggle here as well. We'll talk a bit more about these settings in later videos, but for now, let's go over to the left sidebar. And so at the very top, you can actually switch your workspaces. Now, this only applies to you if you have multiple workspaces, which means you should be in multiple teams or work in multiple companies. Most people will be completely fine with just one workspace. So yeah, but still, it's great to know that it's there, and you can also create new accounts or log out of your accounts from this menu. Next to that, you can actually see this little close sidebar button, and this is nice if you want to have a more focused view inside of Notion. So if you click on that, you'll see the sidebar actually collapses and you just have the full content on your page. I usually keep it open, but sometimes it might be quite helpful to have this option. Below that, we have the quick find option, which is basically like a workspace-wide search inside of Notion. So you can search for anything that you added. So maybe I can search for Google. It doesn't come up with anything. Let's just search for subpage. And now you see it will actually find this subpage that we added down here. And this will come up as the search result. If I click on it, it will actually redirect me to this page as well. So a great option if you have multiple pages. Again, an option that you probably won't need to use until you have a certain number of pages inside of your Notion workspace. But just so that you know, you also have the option to narrow down your search if you get like tons of search results and you're not quite sure, but you can basically pinpoint the results a bit. So first of all, you can sort the results. So you can sort by different criteria. You could say you want the last edited ones, so that were most recently edited, for example, and all these other options. And you can also add filters. So for example, you could say, I want to only find pages that were created in the last week. So for example, if you know a page has been created in the last week, but you can't seem to remember the name of the page, then this might be a good idea to pinpoint which page it could be. And there are multiple other ways to filter through your content. There are lots of additional ways to filter here, but we won't go into too much detail because this would be too much for this introduction video. If you go below the quick find, we'll see the all updates tab. And this is basically where you'll find all your updates across your entire workspace. And now updates would be if somebody actually mentions you inside of your Notion pages. So That mostly applies to teams working inside of Notion, but also if you work with guests, which is something we will cover later in the course. So if somebody mentions you, this is where you'll see it. Or if somebody replies to a comment that you made, this will also be available in here. For general settings, you can take a look at the settings and members page. This is where you'll find all your general settings about your account, your login, connected apps, and everything else. So if you're looking for settings, this is the place to look at. Now, we talked about the pages already, so we can skip over them and we can go to the templates. Templates are basically predefined structures or pages that you can implement inside of your Notion workspace. You can, for the most part, easily duplicate them to get started with new use cases quickly. And there will be a short video about that coming up in the next videos. So we'll discuss and we'll discover how you can actually use this in Notion. So stay tuned for that. Just wanted to show you that it's there. And now we'll move on to the next part, which is the imports tab. Here you can actually import content from other productivity tools. And this is great if you really want to go all in on Notion and want to move your content from other tools into Notion. For example, you can import content from Trello, from Asana, from Google Docs. You can also just use text or CSV files. All of these options are available to you to help you quickly move our content into Notion. And now the absolute last part of this video is the trash. So this is basically where all the pages go that you delete inside of your Notion workspace. The great thing is that you can actually restore them. So if you ever delete something by accident, this is where you'll find it and you'll be able to restore it from there again so that you can retain all the progress that you made and you don't have to worry about losing anything. And with that, we are actually finished with all these general settings and we're ready to start our first project, which is to build our own Notion homepage.